Democrats are looking dumber by the day, so they refuse to admit they were dead wrong about their precious Maryland man. No matter how many disturbing details we find about Kilmar Abrego Garcia's violent past as a suspected MS13 member. The latest shoe to bust the liberal narrative, cops just dropped new body cam video from 2022. It's a traffic stop, with Tennessee state troopers getting mighty suspicious that Kilmar Abrego Garcia was tied up in human trafficking. Watch.
You know what you got here, right?
No.
He's hauling these people for money. There's 8 people in there.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know that. They put an extra row of seats in there.
Yeah. So he's getting paid to haul these people, probably to Maryland, I would say. They don't have any luggage in there, right? And if you get them out, they're going to have a tube of toothpaste, and they're going to have toothbrushes in their pockets, I guarantee it.
He's got $1,400 cash in his pocket in an envelope.
And it gets worse. Disturbing audio from 2020 surfaced, where Garcia's wife, Jennifer, begged the judge for protection from her husband and explaining in graphic detail how he hit her.
He grabbed me from my hair and then he slapped me, and then the neighbor, he didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to react. I have pictures of the evidence, all the bruises, because even on Wednesday, he hit me around 3 in the morning. He would just wake up and hit me. And then last Saturday for my daughter's birthday party, before I went to my daughter's birthday party, he slapped me 3 times. And then last week I did call the police. My sister called the police because he hit me in front of my sister.
Abrego Garcia's wife issued a statement to USA Today, which we obtained the audio. She says her husband was, quote, traumatized by COVID and being in ICE detention, which contributed to the actions which caused her to seek the protective order. But Democrats like Ilhan Omar are not interested in Garcia's violent past.
Do you think more of your Democratic colleagues should be traveling to El Salvador to advocate on behalf of Abrego Garcia?
I think you should off. Yeah, that's
I'm sorry, what, Congresswoman?
off.
Who should?
You.
I don't think a lot of American husbands or any husbands just start beating their wives during COVID because they were traumatized, Greg.
Well, clearly it was ICE's fault. Look, Abrego's a Maryland man, right? Ted Bundy is a dating expert. Unabomber is a pen pal. Charles Manson, family man. I think Republicans and other sane people should be credited with unbelievable patience. As we had to sit through the endless lionizing of a thug, they turned him into, I don't know, Rosa Parks with tats. We knew it was inevitable. It was just like Jussie Smollett, where we had to bite our tongues and let the Dems work through their 5 stages of performative outrage. But we knew it was going to happen. It was just going to take time. And then what's going to happen? They're going to pivot. Suddenly, it's not about the Maryland dad at all. It's about all of us. No, it's not about all of us. You made it about the Maryland dad. This is the hill you chose to die on, and you're going to die on it. They always seem to pick the wrong side on the wrong hill. Trans athletes, left-wing congressmen who let dogs die, a guy who assassinates a CEO, pro-Hamas protesters, BLM rioters, looters who are only trying to get bread, the wife-beating gangbanger. If you want to find a scumbag, just look for the Democrat that's defending him. Meanwhile, who do they demonize? Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Daniel Penny, men who actually try to do good. It's their filter. The oppressor versus the oppressed, which means if a bad guy is financially worse off than you, he can't be the victim, which means every bad guy who's usually financially worse off than you is always going to be the victim. Therefore, their victims no longer get justice for their suffering because we've switched it. But I don't believe that the Dems actually ever cared about this guy. They don't really care about the victims at all. What they care about is themselves and how to score virtue signaling points and political points. Who is the real victim? They don't care unless it's them, unless they get mugged, unless they get carjacked.
That was some traffic stop, Martha.
I mean, it tells you something that the Tennessee Highway Patrol decided, you know what? That video that we have in the back, I think we better release it. I think we better let people see what was going on here. You got to be careful who you make your hero, right? Because you have to stand behind that story. Think about Jocelyn Nungaray. Think about Laken Riley. No, the deeper you dug into the story, the more tragic and horrible it became, and the more victim the more sensitive we all were to their victimhood. This guy, the Maryland man, is an El Salvadoran. He's now currently in his home country. He is back home. And what else we know is exactly what his wife said. On that tape, she sounds very credible. I mean, Judge Janine has listened to a lot of women tell their story, and I bet it sounds very familiar to her. And now I feel, it is sad that she has to lean on ICE, because now she's gone so far down with this story of her innocent husband that she has to find some way to make it better. But it is not ICE who woke up and punched you in the face in the middle of the night. And it was not COVID that pulled your hair and almost pushed you down the stairs. And it's sad, but you really have to, if you're going to make someone your hero, you better kick the tires on their story first.
They're still demanding, Judge, that this person come back to the United States even after this.
Jesse, I can't think for them. I think that the hate is so deep within them for anything that the Trump administration does that they prefer to be on the side of the criminal. But I've spent 30 years watching a society that takes the side of the criminal and then, turns the victim into the bad person. Look, I'm not an ideologue when it comes to this. I'm an experienced law enforcement professional. I started the first domestic violence unit in the country. I know what happens with battered women. Any man who is willing to beat a woman in front of another person, whether it is a neighbor or a sister, will continue to beat that woman. That beating will increase in intensity and frequency as time goes on. And when she doesn't go forward with the charges and then minimizes it, as she does here, then he is more confident that he can get away with anything. So we have a very dangerous man there. He's not just a wife beater. He is a man who is convinced he is above the law. But on top of that, he was arrested in 2019. No one talks about this, for loitering. He was stopped in 2022 for human trafficking, okay? And they called ICE. But under the Biden administration, ICE never showed up. What a shock. And on top of that, and I had a gang unit. I had one of the few gang units in New York State. I had the gang investigators. He has all the tats for MS13, whether it's marijuana, the skull, the smiley face, or the cross. He is MS13, all right? This guy, the only reason there was a hold on him is because he said he's afraid of the other gang in El Salvador, that they'll kill him. Why do they want to kill him? Because he's an MS-13 gangbanger. I mean, res ipsa, sua sponte, whatever you want to say if you're a lawyer. This guy is a dirtbag, and if you take his side, if you lie in the grass with dogs, you come up with fleas. And that's where the Democrats are.
This guy, who's obviously MS-13, Harold, he is a very good lawyer, and he's had very good lawyers over the last couple of years. Isn't that interesting?
It is. It's good to be back with you guys. It's been a long week. I'd say a couple things. First, sentimentally, I am with the president on this. I'm with those around the table. I reject this Democrat-Republican thing because I'm a Democrat, and I've got hundreds, if not thousands, of Democrat friends who share your opinion that we shouldn't be defending people who hurt people, and particularly people who hit women. For the life of me, what I can't quite get my arms around, and we can come back to it, is why all of this wasn't presented before the judges that looked at all of this, because you've said it very well, Jesse, over the period of a few weeks as the judge has. You would think with all of this evidence that they would have allowed for him to be shipped down there. We would not be talking about due process or these rights for him. So something is not completely adding up for me. 3, the Democrat-Republican thing. I remind everybody, I don't credit people who are a different political party than I, who may do things. Like, I don't think that the Republican Party is a racist party because David Duke, who's an unrepentant head of the Ku Klux Klan, ran as a Republican and was nominated as a Republican. I don't think all Republicans are bad or racist. Matter of fact, I don't even think Republicans are racist. I think some people are who happen to be Republican. Timothy McVeigh was a bad guy. He aligned more with the Republican Party than the Democrat Party. I know you're not. I just think we should be careful not to cast a party as being in favor of gangbangers, people who beat women and hit women, and people who violate the laws of our country. Finally, the court is ultimately going to decide, and the judge and I, we probably agree on this, and maybe we all agree. The court is ultimately going to decide one question. Do non-citizens have due process rights like citizens have? In the past, we've said that non-citizens have due process rights. I can think of citizens who should not have due process rights, who I find completely offensive. There was a guy 3 blocks from here who shot a guy at 5 in the morning named Louis Mangione, whose due process rights are being respected, and he has great lawyers. He's trying to get part of his charges dropped today, but that's just how our system works. We give people these rights, and ultimately the court is going to decide, do non-citizens, because this guy was not a citizen, do non-citizens or people applying for citizenship, what access to due process do they have? You may not like that argument, but that's the American system. But sentimentally, I'm with everybody around the table. I am not for a man who hits women. I am not for a man who violates our immigration laws, and I'm certainly not for someone who terrorizes children in MS13.
Barack Obama deported 3 million illegals. 87% of them didn't have a hearing. So all of a sudden, when it's Donald Trump, let's get some new rights out there.
But wait a second. The judge who just in Texas, a judge who said that you can't use the Alien Enemies Act to do this, that was a Trump appointee. Now, I normally don't get
I don't care, but that's another local judge trying to impact the nation.
He's a federal judge. And
he's a local federal judge. He's a district court versus a circuit court versus a Supreme Court.
But some around the table will say that's a Democratic judge. This was a judge appointed by President Trump.
Nobody's saying that. We're saying he doesn't have jurisdiction to decide that.
That's the day.
They're going to keep arguing for the next 10 minutes in the commercial, trust me.
Like, comment, and follow us on X at Patriot Media GRP.